The top stories tonight in Y News. Despite the recent bicameral approval of its postponement to 2023, the Commission on Elections has started printing the ballots for the December 2022 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan polls. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s recent trip to the United States has lured investment pledges amounting to nearly $4 billion. The Department of Health is currently watching 6 areas in Metro Manila for increasing COVID-19 hospital admissions. And Russia placed itself in a position to formally annex parts of Ukraine where occupied areas had a referendum on living under Moscow's rule, which the Ukrainian government and the West declared illegal and rigged. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, September 29, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am William Theo. We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. First in the news, under his leadership, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. promised to make sure that foreign institutions support the Philippines was used efficiently and effectively. Nel Maribuhok reports why.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. vowed to strengthen relations with the Asian Development Bank. President Marcos thanked the Regional Development Bank for its continued support to the country at the 55th annual meeting of the Board of Governors of the ADB and promised to use this assistance wisely.
As President, it is certainly my duty to ensure that the government remains committed in the efficient and effective utilization of this institution's assistance for the full benefit of all Filipinos.
PBBM recognized the ADB for allowing the Philippines to access its quick disbursing budget support facility to aid countries in mitigating the severe economic shocks caused by the pandemic. The President also encouraged international counterparts and partners to work together for a better post-pandemic world.
One thing is for sure, we can no longer return to the way things were. It is time for us to work together to bring about an even better normal. I believe that at the heart of this goal is in the way that we must develop an economy that is green, that is sustainable, truly climate resilient, and responsive to people's immediate needs.
The ADB assists its members and partners by providing loans, technical assistance, grants, and equity investments to promote social and economic development. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Around $4 billion in investment from many sectors is expected as a result of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s visit to the United States last week. The palace said that business agreements and commitments secured in the U.S. had an estimated investment value of $3.9 billion or almost 235 billion pesos, and the potential to create 112,285 jobs. The investment will come from various sectors such as data centers, manufacturing, information technology, and business process management or IT/BPM. The printing of the official manual ballots for the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections today has been pushed through by the Commission on Elections or COMELEC. This amidst a possible polls postponement. Dante Amento tells us why.
COMELEC Chairman George Erwin Garcia explained that unless there is a law for the postponement of the barangay and SK elections, they must prepare for the local elections, which includes printing of ballots. Therefore, with a budget allocation of 900 million pesos, the poll body officially began printing the over 91.5 million BSKE ballots this morning through the National Printing Office or NPO.
Pero madami na po nangyayari in the past. Panukalang batas, approved ng Senado, approved ng Kongreso, Pagdating po sa palasyo, veto ng Pangulo. Paano po ang mangyayari sa atin pagka nagkaganon? Wala kaming na-print na balota. Wala tayong gagamitin sa December 5, 2022.
If the barangay and SK elections are postponed, Garcia assures that the ballots can still be used the next year. The commission included an ascending serial number safety feature in the BSKE ballot for the first time.
Para masigurado natin na hindi pwedeng peke ang ginagamit na balota sa lahat ng ating presinto.
For the sake of transparency, the COMELEC and NPO disclosed that the printing process is open to the public.
The printing will be open to those who would like to serve.
Naka-live stream, gusto namin nakikita nyo yung proseso. Walang dagdag na balota, walang bawas na balota, lahat nakikita.
It will take a month to print the ballots, plus an additional week for verification. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The first law to be approved by the Marcos administration may be the SIM registration bill. Here are the requirements you need to be aware of if the proposal becomes a law. In Eileen Cerudo's report.
The SIM registration bill aims to curb the proliferation of text scams and spam messages. House Speaker Martin Romualdez hopes that the said bill will not be vetoed, similar to what happened during the Duterte administration. Speaker Romualdez said the bill no longer contains the controversial provisions that orders the mandatory registration of social media accounts. The public also supports the enactment of the SIM registration bill.
Sa dami na po kasi mga scammer na kumakalat ngayon, hindi lang po pati sa akin, pati na po sa mga politiko na nagtitext, mas mabuti na po yung naka-registered lahat ng SIM natin para malalaman natin kung sino yung mga taong pumapasok o kumukontak sa atin para matitrace agad kung sino yung mga scammer po o hindi.
Nagagamit po ng scammer na mag-iba-iba ng SIM card para po paulit-ulit pa rin po yung paggamit nila. Pag scam po, nakakatakas po sila.
Tama lang eh. Kasi sa ibang bansa, ganyan na eh. Kung ilan yung SIM card mo, di iparegister mo lahat. Diba? Kasi, para hindi na nangi-scam yung iba. At saka kilala mo na kaagad sino yung manloloko sa'yo dahil nakaregister. Parang gagawin na ring national ID.
Under the said bill, all SIM cards should be registered in the respective Public Telecommunication Entity or PTE before it can be activated. Existing SIM subscribers, meanwhile, are required to register their number within 180 days after the effectivity of the law. Unregistered SIM beyond the 180 days will be deactivated. Individuals that will register their SIM need to submit a control number registration which contains information including their full name, birth date, gender, and their address. They should also include their assigned SIM number and serial number. Individuals can register on the website of the PTE. Once the information is submitted, a verification is needed. Registrants would need to present their Philippine National ID, SSS ID, GSIS ID, driver's license, police and NBI clearance, voter's ID, PWD ID, or any government-issued ID with photo. Minors will be allowed to register a SIM, but it shall be under the name of their parent or guardian. Anyone providing false information in their SIM registration, using fraudulent ID to register or spoofs a registered SIM, will face imprisonment ranging from 6 months to 2 years and a fine up to 300,000 pesos. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
By December, the Land Transportation Office will open an online portal for driver's license renewal. The online system will initially be accessible in a limited number of areas. JP Nunez will tell us why.
An average of 100,000 to 120,000 applicants are processing license or vehicle registration applications at land transportation offices as of today. By December, LTO hopes to launch its online renewal process in order to decrease this number and make the process easier for citizens. According to LTO Chief Assistant Secretary Chofilo Guadis III, about 60% of all daily transactions in LTO are related to driver's license renewals. Submission of appropriate documents for personal data, biometrics, medical requirements, and even payment will be included in the driver's license renewal portal.
Pagkatapos po ng medical check-up, dire-diretso na ho yan. Pati po bayad, pwedeng gamitin natin yung mga online payment centers po natin. Pati ho yung pagkuha ng picture po, hindi na po kailangan pumunta sa LTO po. Gamit po yung ating mga cellphone. Meron namang mga facial features po tayo. Pag pinadala po natin sa LTO yun, makukuha na ho natin yung lisensya.
In order to get their physical driver's license, applicants who were successful in processing their renewed licenses will select their preferred courier. LTO will launch the online system in the National Capital Region, Cebu City, and Davao City initially, areas that are identified to be having a huge number of applicants daily. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, Russia has positioned itself to formally annex parts of Ukraine after a referendum was held, what Ukraine calls a propaganda show. Nerissa Dando tells the details live. Yes, Nerissa?
Good evening, Marielle. Russia held a 5-day referendum on leaving under Moscow's regime as an attempt to legitimize its invasion of Ukraine, the results of which were all in favor of Moscow. However, the Ukrainian government and the West denounced the voting as rigged and illegal. Ukraine said Russia is forcing people in the 4 occupied territories to fill out some papers at the barrel of a gun. Russian armed troops had gone door to door to collect ballots for the allegedly Kremlin-orchestrated referendum. 93% of the ballots cast in the Zaporizhia region agreed, as well as 87% in Kherson region and 98% in the Luhansk and 99% in the Donetsk region. Meanwhile, the U.S., which also dismissed the balloting, is planning to work with its allies to impose additional economic costs on Russia's recent move. The Kremlin, however, stands on its ground, as its spokesman Dmitry Peskov said. At the very least, Russia intended to drive Ukrainian forces out of the Donetsk region, where 60% of the territory is now being controlled by Russian troops. Marielle.
Thank you, Nerissa Dando, for that live report. After the discovery of leaks on the 2 major pipelines stretching from Russia to Germany across the Baltic Sea, on Monday and Tuesday, allegedly caused by suspected sabotage, the European countries, together with the United States and NATO, have joined forces to heighten the security around the oil and gas installations. From London, United Kingdom, here's Giona Privado to tell us why live. Yes, Giona, go ahead.
Yes, Marielle, following the controversial leaks on the Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 pipelines discovered earlier this week, which supply oil and gas to most parts of Europe, the military defenses in the surrounding region have started deploying Navy vessels to patrol across the Baltic Sea. This after the European Union, along with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, and the United States have pledged to step up security measures of the crucial infrastructure. The alliances did not blame Russia for the incident that happened near the Danish island Bornholm. However, they have clearly suggested that the damage to the pipelines was deliberate. Russia, who has previously been accused of using gas supplies as a threat against countries supporting Ukraine, has dismissed the accusations of sabotage. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen meanwhile commented that if the attacks to the pipelines is proven to have been deliberate, the strongest possible response will be enforced. Norway Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre promised the military would be visible at oil and gas installations, while NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg discussed with the Defense Minister of Denmark the measures on how to protect the critical infrastructure. Meanwhile, White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that the U.S. will continue its role to safeguard Europe's energy security and that the U.S. Navy is ready to support its allies, according to the spokesperson. Marielle.
Thank you, Giona Privado, reporting live from London, United Kingdom. After 11 years, the yuan, China's trading currency, has dropped to its lowest point versus the US dollar. Joselito Liquido will tell us the details live. Yes, Joselito.
Good evening, Marielle. The yuan, China's domestic currency, has reached its lowest level since 2011 and its weakest point since the global financial crisis in 2008. It comes after the U.S. Central Bank increased interest rates again this month, causing the dollar's continued rise against other major currencies. The continuing rise of the dollar heavily affected the sudden slide of the Chinese yuan. Both China and U.S. are taking different ways to tackle their respective economic issues. While the People's Bank of China lowers down the interest rates to boost the growth of their economy, U.S. Federal Reserve, on the other hand, is continuously increasing their interest rates to control inflation. But according to Joseph Capurso, head of the International Sustainable Economics of the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, the weakening of yuan is not all that bad for China, as weaker currency can lead to increased demands for their exports as prices for their products become cheaper. Marielle?
Thank you, Joselito Liquido, reporting live. We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Marielle. The Department of Health has monitored 6 areas in Metro Manila that have an increasing number of COVID-19 hospital admissions. The DOH, however, sees no need to open more isolation facilities. Asher Kadapan Jr. tells us why live. Yes, Asher, go ahead.
Good evening, Will. COVID-19 cases are expected to rise due to reopening of sectors, presence or mobility of population, and presence of highly transmissible variants of COVID-19, among others. The Department of Health explains this as it sees increasing cases of the said disease in the National Capital Region. DOH Officer in Charge Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres says 6 LGUs currently have high hospital admissions from COVID-19 infection. These include the cities of Pasig, Muntinlupa, Malabon, Makati, Navotas, and Caloocan.
Nakikitaan natin ang National Capital Region na patuloy ang pagtaas ng kaso, although hindi pa siya dun sa significant levels. Pero nakikita na natin 13 out of the 17 areas in the National Capital Region ay pumalo na sa moderate risk classification. Kaya ang NCR ngayon ay nasa moderate risk case classification na rin.
Undersecretary Vergeres says they have been coordinating with corresponding health institutions to find ways in making more COVID-19 beds available in concerned hospitals. The health department is looking to see if they can already transfer the patient with mild and asymptomatic infections to isolation facilities. Despite the situation, the DOH believes there's no need to open more isolation facilities yet.
Sa ngayon, wala pa tayong nakikitang need para tayo ay magbukas uli ng panibago. We are using the existing facilities for these individuals na pwede na nating ilipat palabas ng mga ospital.
And that's it for tonight on my end. Back to you, Will.
Yes, thank you, Asher Kadapan Jr., reporting live from Quezon City. The Philippines is in need of 100,000 more nursing staff, according to the Department of Health, or DOH. During a press briefing, DOH officer in charge Maria Rosario Vergeres said the country needs 106,000 healthcare workers in order to fill all the country's private and public health facilities. There are also a shortage of pharmacists, medical technologists, midwives, and dentists. The official also said there is a shortage of doctors, especially in far-flung areas. According to OIC Vergeres, the shortage is caused by the migration of healthcare workers. In order to address this, the DOH is coordinating with other agencies in order to provide incentives for health workers. Bills are also being pushed in Congress to improve the conditions of medical workers in the country. Meanwhile, the death toll from Super Typhoon Karding has increased to 11. According to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, 5 of them are the rescuers in San Miguel, Bulacan who drowned in the flood. There are also recorded drownings in Baliwag, Bulacan, Zambales, and Burdeos, Quezon. The casualties recorded in Zambales, Antipolo, Rizal, and Tanay, Rizal are still being verified. Meanwhile, 6 people were reported missing, including 5 fishermen in Mercedes, Camarines Norte, and 1 from Antipolo, Rizal. According to the NDRRMC, 640,963 people, or 176,337 families, are affected by Typhoon Karding from 1,372 barangays in Ilocos, Cagayan, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Bicol, and Cordillera. As many as 20,628 households were damaged, of which 18,110 were partially damaged, while 2,518 were damaged. Due to typhoon, 35 cities and municipalities, including the entire province of Nueva Ecija, Dingalan, Aurora, Macabebe, Pampanga, and San Miguel, Bulacan, were placed under the state of calamity. Pag-asa says 6 to 9 more tropical cyclones are expected to enter or form within the Philippine Area of Responsibility, or PAR, before 2022 ends. The State Weather Bureau explains in October, 2 to 4 tropical cyclones must enter or form, while 2 to 3 are expected in November. In December, there might be up to 1 or 2 tropical cyclones. According to Pag-asa, more super typhoons are recorded because of the new system used by the agency. Pag-asa now categorizes cyclones with maximum sustained winds of 185 kilometers per hour as a super typhoon. Previously, the State Weather Bureau categorizes a super typhoon if it exceeds more than 220 kilometers per hour. The Philippines is labeled as the most tropical cyclone-visited country in the world, with an average of 20 tropical cyclones per year. In other news, the proposed 2023 budget for the Vice President's office has cleared the Senate Finance Committee and will now be presented to the full Senate. Janice Inhente reports.
The Senate Finance Committee approved the proposed 2.31 billion budget for the Office of the Vice President for the year 2023 in just 40 minutes. Vice President Sara Duterte defended her office budget when asked about the necessity of her office asking for a 500 million confidential fund by Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel. According to Vice President Sara Duterte, this is not the first time the Office of the Vice President requested a confidential fund, saying that the OVP was granted the said fund for 13 years since 2000. VP Duterte, on the other hand, said again that she will refer to the decision of the lawmakers in approving its request.
As to the amount, Your Honor, and the propriety of the confidential funds, as we have manifested in the House of Representatives, we leave it to the honorable members of the Senate to decide on this matter.
Senator Pimentel also questioned the OVP's programs, which he said were replicating projects of other government agencies like the DOTR's Libreng Sakay. VP Sara said,
"We are not duplicating or replicating the existing Libreng Sakay of the Department of Transportation. In fact, the buses, sir, were lent to the Office of the Vice President, which we lent to the DOTR. So instead of the DOTR renting buses, they have free 5 buses from the OVP, for which they don't pay for the lease of the buses. We just pay for the salaries of the driver and the gasoline.
Duterte also revealed that they are currently searching for a property to be used as the permanent residence of the Vice President's office, pointing to its proposed budget of 10 million pesos, which is to be used as a down payment on the property.
Right now, sir, we are looking at one property only, and that is the Coconut Palace. But there is no amount yet identified or given by GSIS. But we are still looking at other properties as well of the government that can be used, given to the Office of the Vice President for a permanent office.
The 2023 OVP budget represents a 1.6 billion pesos increase, or more than 200% above the 702 million budget for the office in 2022. Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The state of Florida in the United States continues to be battered by Hurricane Ian, which has caused 1.4 million power outages, according to the latest report from the Florida Disaster Agency. Governments and residents from neighboring states of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina are also bracing for damage to their infrastructure. Beverly Saison details this report.
Now in Florida, Hurricane Ian is expected to make its way northwards to other areas in East Coast USA, such as Georgia and the Carolina Mountains. Utility crews are preparing for heavy rain, high winds, storm surges, and flash floods. South Carolina declared a state of emergency while a hurricane watch and tropical storm warning remains in Low Country, Florida. Aside from over 1.4 million power outages, Hurricane Ian has caused flooded streets and buildings throughout Southwest Florida. Many residents have called for help as they were trapped by water in their homes. Several residents in Delray Beach also evacuated their homes due to a tornado that was reportedly caused by Hurricane Ian. A longtime Florida resident is among the millions affected by the Category 4 storm. After 30 years in Florida, he says Hurricane Ian is one of the strongest storms he has lived through so far.
I'm currently in Lakeland, Florida, and right behind me is part of the strength of Hurricane Ian as it passes through tonight and into the early morning hours here in Lakeland, Florida. I've lived in Florida for a little bit over 30 years now. And in that time, this is probably one of the stronger hurricanes that I've been through.
Hurricane Ian has now been downgraded to a Category 2 storm, but continues to be unpredictable. 3 to 5 feet high storm surges, 6 to 8 inches of rainfall, and gusty winds are expected as it travels north. Airport closures and flight cancellations are ongoing all throughout the Florida Peninsula in response to the tropical storm. So far, one death has been linked to Hurricane Ian, a 34-year-old man found in the floodwaters of Martin County, Florida. Beverly Saison, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
In Australia, over 14,900 active healthcare details and 22,000 expired card numbers were exposed by a hacker who recently breached major telecommunications company Optus's security. Optus reassured customers who have an active Medicare card will be contacted within 24 hours, while the federal government also considers issuing replacement cards for millions of Australians whose personal information were leaked. Other private details that were acquired by the hacker include driver's license and passport. Meanwhile, after releasing the first round of data belonging to over 10,000 people, the hacker uploaded an apology claiming they would destroy the stolen personal information. A study shows that Switzerland's glaciers are melting more rapidly than ever before, with their ice volume decreasing by 6% this year. Monica Canlas tells us why.
Europe's largest glacier volume is in Switzerland, but the country's glaciers have lost more ice than before due to global warming and the heat wave faced by the Europe across the continent, breaking a record of nearly a generation, according to the Swiss Academy of Sciences. The report released on Wednesday, the ice covering the Concordia Plat's top of the Great Eliash Glacier in the southern part melted to a height of almost 6 meters. Small glaciers like Pisel have vanished. Since the early 1930s, 1,400 glaciers in the Switzerland have lost more than half of their overall volume. Factors were the unusually thin snow cover in the Swiss Alps causing less defense against the heat, a dust strip from the Sahara that covered much of the Europe, causing the snow to absorb extra heat, and the heat wave in summer accelerated the glacial melt. Matthias Haas, a glaciologist heading the GLAMUS program, said they have a series reaching back more than 100 years, and they have never seen anything like this year. The possibility of such extremes in the future has been anticipated, yet they have already materialized. Mr. Haas added, although the people are not responding swiftly enough to stop global warming, people are beginning to see the danger and the necessity of reducing emissions of glasshouse gases, which trap heat in the atmosphere. Monica Canlas, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Mariela Toza reporting live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
Amid the land-grabbing issues confronting it, the Masungi Geo Reserve Foundation won an award from the United Nations. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The Masungi Geo Reserve Foundation received another international award on September 27, aiming to restore and protect some 2,700 hectares of heavily degraded lands in Rizal. The foundation's Masungi Geopark project won the UN Sustainable Development Goals Action Award under the Inspire category.
Sobrang laking tulong po nitong award na to dahil mas mabibigyan pansin, hopefully, yung ginagawa nating pagkonserba at pagprotekta ng lugar.
Around 300 hectares make up the Masungi Geopark in Baras, Rizal, and it also looks after 2,700 hectares of watershed. Since 1996, they have been protecting the area.
Sa 5 taon na pangangalaga ng Masungi sa lugar na iyon, meron na tayong 68,000 native trees na natanim, meron na tayong mga 17 ranger stations na na-establish sa critical area sa watershed.
Even for residents of lowlands, Masungi play a key role.
Ang Masungi po ay parte ng Sierra Madre. Ito ay isa sa mga natural na panangga natin laban sa bagyo, landslide.
We deserve it because they're working hard to protect the environment. At kami naman, siyempre may mga forest rangers, may mga pentro kami. Those support na rin para together we can protect yung whatever resources na available na.
DNR Undersecretary Jonas Leones acknowledges the work done by Masungi and pledges to assist in securing the area, such as by deploying forest rangers. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word giving glory to God from the book of John, chapter 15, verse 10. It says, "If ye keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love." And those are the reasons behind the news, September 29, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am William Theo. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. We serve the people. We give glory to God.